third episode of Black Clover is infinitely better than anything that preceded it. I have to be perfectly honest, the first two episodes of the series for me personally were really hard to get through, and I'm starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm starting to see a story which can honestly be pretty fun, if only for the fact that I still just cannot stand the main character of the series. Not so much his motivation. I'm all down for a good underdog story. It's just, man, his voice actor needs to just get fired and replaced with someone else, anyone else that doesn't do that constant yelling and screaming. And that's all I'm going to bitch about for the rest of this episode. This was a surprisingly great one right here. What I especially loved about it was the opening scene where we actually got to learn a little bit more about what it means to be the Wizard King and how someone actually attains that title. Apparently this all takes place in this massive royal kingdom where this one super powerful wizard can take down a super powerful monster. He becomes a super powerful king. That's the last time I'm going to say super powerful. But the point is, this guy ends up becoming the ruler of this entire land, and under him are a group of 9 awesome knights. They are the magic knights, and they are the ones who are right under the king, and they even have the opportunity to become next in line to rule the land. So, first, Asta and Yuno are going to have to become magic knights before they become the Wizard King. The good news is, there's going to be an entrance exam where they can actually join up and join the ranks. It's pretty awesome. And all of this is illustrated at the beginning of the episode with this great sequence of watching this previous Wizard King fight against this massive multi-armed beast in this huge city. And it's really flashy, it's over the top, and exactly what I've been wanting to see from a series which paints itself as a big action magic show. It's really great. I mean, it's nothing that I haven't seen before, but it's definitely more competent than anything that I've seen from the first 2 episodes of the series. And I would even argue that they should have opened the entire series with this sequence showing the Wizard King fighting against a demon and explaining what it means to be Wizard King. It would have set up the world just a little bit more, and it would have been a great hook to actually get people invested in this series, aside from just starting with a really annoying protagonist who likes to scream everything at the top of his lungs. Still, I like this. It really got me excited to learn a little bit more about the lore of the Black Clover world and to see how it's actually going to unfold between our eyes. The rest of the episode is basically all just about Asta and Yuno as they prepare to go on an epic journey to the royal capital, which is filled with all sorts of yucks like fighting monsters and getting nearly crushed by giant rocks and trekking against really hot deserts. It's pretty much just a big roadshow kind of episode, but I really did actually enjoy it. Despite the fact that Asta really is still just doing what he's always done, which is just spouting that he's going to be the Wizard King, he's a really great foil for Yuno, who's incredibly deadpan and super serious all the time. I dare say it kind of reminds me of a buddy cop styled film from the 1980s. It's super cheesy, but honestly, it'll get me a couple of laughs and it puts a big smile on my face. And for Black Clover to make me smile, that's kind of a pretty big freaking deal. That we also get to see this really great moment, which is already my favorite Asta moment from the entire series, where he's doing some training in the woods with his massive black sword, which he took from his grimoire. And there's that one young orphan who goes by the name of Nash. And he is basically really upset by the fact that Asta is going to go away and try to join the Magic Knights, and he's also convinced that there's no way that someone like him can even do something, and by doing this in the first place, it's just pointless. Of course, the shonen hero way is to basically never give up, and Asta literally yells that right into his face, and then proceeds to completely just destroy this massive tree with one swing of his sword, which is a really triumphant moment, especially seeing him stand there with the sword stuck in the ground with the light bathing over him. It was a really cool moment. It was definitely the coolest moment from the series for me, aside from that incredibly awesome opening with watching the Wizard King fight against that monster. And the rest of the episode, like I said, is basically just sort of a journey across this mystical land, which thankfully didn't go on that long. They implied at first that this is going to be a very long trip, and I'm like, well, I pretty much know what the first arc is going to be about, and the series actually surprised me. We immediately arrive at the royal capital at the very end of the episode with the prospect of seeing many new characters. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Black Clover? Black Clover, you did pretty good this week. I'm very excited that you actually had me enjoying your show. It's something that I've been wanting to do, because a lot of people have been talking about Black Clover. I've gotten a number of requests to review the manga version, but I just have so many other things on my plate. I have such a huge to-do list, it's absolutely insane, and trying to squeeze in another franchise for me to fall in love with is honestly kind of difficult to do at this point. But I'm willing to give this one a shot, at least for the first season of the show. I'm really interested to see how far it's going to go and what it's going to do, and what sort of boundaries that it's going to break. There is always the possibility that Black Clover has a little bit of magic up its sleeves. Maybe it is going to do something that actually does surprise me, but I can't wait till we get there. What I will say is this episode had a lot of enjoyable moments, most of which came from the comedy side of things. I think it's really funny that Yuno and Asta's adoptive father is just like such a jerk to Asta. Like, he has zero confidence in him whatsoever. They play up the fact that maybe he's just a little upset about losing what is probably his son going away for a long time, and he just wants to keep him on the farm. But it just comes across as a little condescending and basically just there for some laughs, and honestly, it is kind of funny. I do enjoy that stuff. I also think it's hilarious that they're not joking. Every single time they're talking about food, they call them potatoes. That's like all these people eat are potatoes, like, in this village. It's kind of sad, but it's also really rewarding when Asta and Yuno go out on their adventure and Asta ends up killing a boar and they're actually able to eat meat for the first time. He even laments over the fact that his orphans aren't going to be able to enjoy that along with him, so sucks to be those guys eating their potatoes, I guess. What I will say is, this episode finally had some structure to it. We finally got some more backstory about the actual world itself. And I'm excited to see all of these new characters who look like they're going to be really fun and flashy. And if there's one thing I can say that I am excited about, is that there are going to be a lot of characters. While I might not be the biggest fan of Asta himself, maybe there's someone in the other side cast of characters that I can get myself attached to. Yuno was also kind of fun in this episode right here. But for the most part, this was just sort of like a going on adventure kind of episode. But that opening scene was really fantastic. And there's a number of other little funny scenes and things that build upon the characters. So this was the most solid episode of Black Clover thus far. Definitely the most competent. So I'd recommend watching it if you are a fan of the manga version. I don't know if it's following it that well, but at least it was better than the first two. What I will say is it wasn't a perfect episode. It didn't completely have me the entire time. What I will say it was completely watchable. Just, you have to get over Asta's voice. That's the only thing, which unfortunately does rear its head a lot in this episode, but I'm trying my best to tune it out and try not to think about that too much, because if I say that in every single review, then I'm just going to give every episode like a 1 out of 5. But this episode was much more competent than that. It was a 3 out of 5. Just a fun, average anime episode, which you should definitely check out. If any of you guys did, however, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and you can tell me in the comments section below what you think about the 3rd episode of Black Clover. Did you enjoy it like I did? Did you have some problems with it? What do you think of the big adventure that Asta and Yuno are going on? What sort of characters do you want to see them run into? And what do you hope to see from the development of this brand new magical anime action series? Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Black Clover related, as well as a ton of other anime and manga reviews. And of course, make sure to like the video. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay damn down, baby.